Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio is Dan Kreilein. Now, Dan is running for the office of Jasper City Council District Number 3.
Yes, I am.
Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, for those who do not know you or want to know more about you, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm 27 years old. I graduated from Jasper High School in 2010. I've held several different jobs in the last 9 years of, basically... I haven't really been in a specific trade or whatever, but I graduated high school in 2010. I went to a welding trade school up north of Dayton. Just thought I was wanted to be a welder and all that, get into a trade basically. Graduated that, came back home here to Jasper, worked a couple of jobs, didn't really find anything that I liked. So I decided, well, I'm still young enough, I'm going to go back to college. So I went to VU Vincennes for a business management degree, so I have an associate's degree in business management. Went there, actually met my wife. She's originally from Washington. Met her there. We dated for a couple of years. We both graduated at the same time, but we decided we were going to basically settle down, get married, and then we actually bought a house up in Washington that had a daycare in it. So we ran a daycare for 3 years. That was basically from 15 to this past year, and then decided after finding out we were pregnant with my son, we decided the daycare wasn't going to be fundamentally we weren't making enough money to keep the daycare open to survive for all three of us basically. So I decided we're going to move back down to Jasper because if I'm going to have to get another job, I want to be where the jobs are at, or instead of commuting back and forth from Washington basically. So I moved back to Jasper, and I'm currently working at Leeds in Ireland for right now. So,
well, welcome back home.
Yeah.
And then now, why are you running for office?
Why am I running for office? Because one of my big points that I like to, basically say was, there's a lot of people that are currently in office that are of a different generation of what I am. It's about time that my generation, the millennials, step up and run for office before there's a major generation gap on that city council, basically. So I kind of took the initiative of saying, well, if no one's going to step up, I might as well step up and at least try, and maybe start basically something different, basically to maybe start the momentum or whatever to possibly get my generation more involved in the community than anything else. So
now you're going to be running for office for District 3.
District 3, yes.
And so I think there's just a few districts that every district will have somebody to vote for because there is an at-large candidate. But some districts you're only going to be voting for certain people. You're running in District Number 3.
Yes.
What is District 3?
District 3 is basically 15th Street at 231, all the way down to west of the square, or basically to the square, head west. Basically, you get the roughly Klemper Road, and then it jogs south, basically, and then it has all that new addition, basically. I'm not going to say new addition. It's been there for about 20 years already, but it's got basically the west side of Jasper, basically. So from 231 to 15th Street west, you got the Shiloh Estates and all that in there, basically. I don't know if that's actually Shiloh Estates, but that whole area.
Shiloh, around
Shiloh. And then
not
some of around Precious Blood. Most of that is actually District 2, but I'm on the north side of the northwest side of except for I guess District 6 is the actual north side. I'm more of the central west side of Jasper.
Okay, then what do you think qualifies you for office, or what qualities would you bring to the office?
Well, quality-wise, I'm like I said, I'm 27 years old, a fresh mind basically, versus the people that are on there right now. Nothing against them, but they're getting older in age. Basically, they've had time on. It's like I said, it's about time. It's time for my generation to step up and at least help Jasper move forward. They keep saying they want to move forward. Well, in order to move forward, you got to have fresh ideas and to shake up the council basically and get new people in, new fresh ideas, and everything else. I got a degree in business management. I'm currently not really using it, but it's still background to it. I've ran my own business successfully. That it took it takes a certain mindset to be able to watch 10 kids for 13 hours straight. I don't know if that's qualification for city council, but there's, certain people that can do that, and I was able to do it for almost 3 years. 10 of it, my wife wasn't there because she was deployed. She was deployed for basically 3 months after we got married. Basically, September of 2016 to July of 2017, she was deployed over in the Middle East.
Okay.
So during that time, I took the initiative and said, "We've started this business. We're going to keep it going, so you have something to do when you get home." And I did it successfully for 10 months without her, basically. So I'm not saying that gives me qualification, but I can definitely take on large tasks or uneasy tasks and succeed with them. Basically, I'm also an Eagle Scout, which I feel is a pretty big part of me. 3% of all Boy Scouts end up being Eagle, and then I think it's like 2% of all Scouts in general don't get it or basically make it to Eagle Scout. So I mean, it's somewhat of a high honor be able to be an Eagle Scout and everything else. So I mean, I try to live my life for the Scout Law and to basically think about it and make my thoughts and ideas basically towards it, basically, because it's a strong moral standship. Basically, it's got the Boy Scouts this far. It can get me, it can it can get me through a lot of stuff though too. So,
well, now, what concerns is the city of Jasper facing now, or what concerns or issues will the city of Jasper be facing in the future as you see it, and how would you address those?
Well, some of the issues that I've seen in the past, of course, basically being somewhat of a resident of Jasper for 27 years. Granted, I lived in Washington for a couple of years, but I was in Jasper on the weekends basically. So I've never really left Jasper. The whole scuttle that they had back in 2011, 2012, which of course, if you know my last name, it's been pretty prevalent of the whole biomass issue and all that. And I don't want Jasper to make any more financial mistakes like that. They've paid, or it costed the city and taxpayers a lot of money. Not to bring personal matters into it, but it cost my family a lot of money that do finding it. And then if they would have looked at both sides of the story back in 2011 and realized it was going to be a bad idea, they could have saved a whole bunch of money. Now, let alone they now tore down the power plant, which they wanted to, basically convert. Well, we told. I'm not going to say we, but Healthy DuBois County told them back then it was not a good idea. It just needed to be torn down. Well, 8 years later and several $1 million later, they finally tore it down. And just think of the money they could have spent with that several $1 million. They could have, put it in different funds, upgraded, what have you, basically. And I don't like seeing those mistakes happen, especially when there's people that object to it and they have worthwhile arguments about it. And they don't, I don't see the almighty dollar. A lot of people see, it's, jobs, it's money coming into Jasper. I think in order for Jasper to move forward, they need to look at other ways of revenue, not just big business or, I don't know what word I'm thinking of here, basically, but not necessarily the fly-by-night business, basically, or big businesses. They need to invest in the smaller people. Basically keep local, not corporations that are from outside that are only really care about making money and sending it back, out of Southern Indiana, basically. I like, small companies that are local. The CEO is in Jasper, not somewhere else, basically.
Okay. Now, Dan, this is your opportunity to look at the viewers and tell them why they should vote for you. Any final thoughts that you have?
Basically, I would appreciate everybody's vote. I don't have much, when it comes to experience in a local government and all that, but yet I will listen to everybody that can basically, they want to talk to me. I would gladly listen to all their viewpoints and then make my decision off of that. I'm somebody new. I'm not the same person. I'm not, an older generation. I am who I am in everything else, basically. So, I mean, I'll listen to, both sides of the story and then make my decision off of that versus seeing the almighty dollar and running towards the almighty dollar. I mean, money, I learned at a very young age, or a couple of years ago at least, that money isn't everything. I could have went out west and worked on, a welding job and made hundreds of thousands of dollars and never came back home. But I decided that, family was more important. Not necessarily Jasper, but family was more important. My family's in Jasper. This is where I want to stay. This is where I want to raise my kids, because I foresee it being, keep going for future generations, basically.
Okay, well, Dan Kreilein, it's a pleasure meeting you.
No problem.
Our guest has been Dan Kreilein. Dan is running for the 3rd District Jasper City Council. Please make sure that you go out and vote. Voting is going on right now, or you can vote on Election Day if you would like. Dan's been a pleasure having you in here.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching 18 WJTS. We're local people watching local people.